6 BCE. You are a Roman father. Your name carries weight. Your family is wealthy, respected, woven into the right alliances and the right bloodlines. You've fulfilled every expectation placed on a man of your standing. You've arranged an ideal marriage for your daughter. She is 16, perhaps 17, beautiful, educated, disciplined, raised carefully to embody Roman virtue: obedience, restraint, silence. She knows how to lower her gaze. She knows when not to speak. She understands that her future was never meant to be hers. The wedding unfolds perfectly. No mistakes, no omens. The feast is lavish. Wine flows freely. Laughter fills the air. Musicians play as guests celebrate what Rome defines as success. Cheer. Your daughter smiles, because she has been trained to understand that smiling is part of her role. Then comes the final rite. The one never spoken of. The one never described. As she is led away, she turns back once. Her eyes find yours. There is fear there, confusion. A question she does not yet have the language to ask. You look away not because you do not love her, but because you know exactly what is about to happen, and you know you have no power to stop it. This is the ritual Rome buried so deeply that historians are still piecing it together centuries later. What follows is not myth. It is not rumor. It is documented practice. It reveals a brutal intersection of law, religion, and authority that forces us to reconsider what ancient Rome truly was. Here is what is known with certainty. Between roughly 300 BCE and 200 CE, Roman marriage law repeatedly references a provision that is enforced, acknowledged, and preserved, it almost never explained. Later, medieval writers would call it primi noctis. In Rome, it carried another name, ditus dioramen, offering to the gods, and this is what Roman fathers never told their daughters. Marriage in Roman law was not a union, it was a transfer. A woman moved from the authority of her father to the authority of her husband. This transfer was called manus, but before it could be completed, before a woman could legally become a wife, she had to be purified. That is the word Roman law uses. Purifiti, the 12 tables, Rome's foundational legal code, contain a brief but devastating clause. It states that no bride of proper Roman lineage may enter marriage without purification by the appointed guardians of divine will. That phrase refers to priests, specifically, priests of Bona Ditha, good goddess, a fertility cult deeply embedded in Roman religious life. And this is where everything turns dark. Roman religion was transactional. Offerings were exchanged for favor. Grain for fertility, wine for victory, animals for protection, a clean, brutal exchange. But in marriage, the offering was not grain, it was not wine, it was the bride herself. Imagine being 16 years old, trained your entire life to obey, taught duty, modesty, silence. But no one warned you of this. No one explained that before you belonged to your husband, you belonged to the gods. And the gods demanded proof. The law never explains what that proof was. Archaeology does, across Rome, beneath major temples. Researchers have uncovered underground chambers deliberately constructed for ritual use. These were not tombs, not storage rooms, not accidents. They were something else entirely. Stone beds carved directly from solid rock, grooves cut into floors for liquid drainage. Doors designed to lock only from the outside. In 2003, excavations beneath the Temple of Bonadi on the Aventin Hill revealed one of these chambers intact. What archaeologists found changed everything. The walls were not covered in prayers, not hymns, not invocations. They were covered in names, hundreds of them, all female, each paired with a date. Those dates align precisely with recorded Roman wedding celebrations. Brit. Archaeologist Catherine John spent 3 years documenting the inscriptions. Her 27-page report concluded that these were records of women who underwent a ritual process in that space. She noted that while the ritual itself was never explicitly described, the contextual evidence tied it directly to marriage rites. That phrase, not explicitly described, is academic language for something very specific. We know what happened. We just don't like saying it. So let's say it plainly. This was where priests claimed the right to consummate the marriage before the husband. The process followed a strict pattern. After the public ceremony, after the feast, after the laughter faded, the bride was escorted not to her husband, but to the temple. He was forbidden to accompany her. Instead, she was led by older women female attendants who had already endured the same ritual. They guided her down narrow stone stairs, away from torchlight and celebration, into damp corridors beneath the earth. The air grew colder. The walls closed in. Each step carried her farther from everything familiar. At the end of the passage stood a door. Behind it waited a priest or several. Sources disagree. Much of the written testimony survives only in fragments, deliberately destroyed by later generations. The playwright Plautus referenced the practice around 205 BCE. His work was later censored. Only fragments remain. In one surviving line, a character states, "The gods take their portion before any man." That is the law. Another asks, "And the bride, what does she receive?" The reply, "Purification, if she survives it." That line was removed in later copies. The philosopher Lucretius addressed the ritual even more directly in the 1st century BCE. Medieval. Monks attempted to erase the passage entirely. It survives only because a single manuscript was rediscovered in 1417. Lucretius wrote, "The rites of Bona are called sacred, but they are terror. What the priest claims to offer the gods, he takes for himself. And the law shields this theft with the word divine." Read that again. The law shields this theft with the word divine. Now understand how the system worked. You are a Roman father. You know this ritual exists. You know your daughter will endure it. But you cannot refuse. Because it is not called violence. It is called religion. It is not assault. It is purification. It is not a crime. It is divine law. The system is sealed against resistance. Priests claim holiness. Law enforces silence. Society calls it tradition. And girls disappear beneath temples. What makes this practice difficult to reconstruct is not lack of evidence. It is engineered silence. Roman women who survived the ritual were legally forbidden from speaking about it. In 169 BCE, the Lex Vaconia imposed strict penalties for revealing sacred rites. Any woman who spoke could be charged with impiety. Punishments included exile, loss of property, even death. This is why the historical record looks the way it does. The victims were silenced. The perpetrators were sanctified. The historians were complicit. When modern scholars complain of fragmentary sources, they are describing the success of a system designed to erase testimony. But silence is not the same as forgetting. In the 1920s, archaeologists excavating a villa in Pompeii uncovered a room deliberately sealed before the eruption of Vesuvius. Someone had hidden it. Inside was a fresco. At first glance, it appeared ordinary, a Roman wedding scene. Bride and groom, guests gathered, ritual gestures frozen in paint. Then the background revealed something else, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. A second scene showed a woman being led down a staircase by robed figures. Her body twisted backward, her face turned toward a man standing above, reaching for her, frozen, unable or unwilling to follow. The artist gave more care to her expression than to the bride in the foreground. Fear, confusion, betrayal. The archaeologist who documented the fresco wrote that the technical precision of the hidden figure exceeded that of the main scene. The painter intended it to be remembered. Painting was safer than testimony. Hiding it was safer still. They sealed the room and trusted time to preserve what law would not. 2,000 years later, it worked. After the ritual, the bride returned to her wedding celebrations, sometimes hours later, sometimes not until the following day. Roman weddings include a detail that puzzled historians for centuries. Bride wore a veil called a flammeum. Unlike other veils, it was never removed, not during the ceremony, not during consummation. For years, scholars claimed it symbolized modesty. That explanation collapses when you read Roman medical texts. The physician Serranus, writing in the 2nd century CE, casually notes that many brides showed signs of recent injury on their wedding night. He offers medical advice, then adds a remark that changes everything. The veil, he writes, served two purposes: preserving modesty and preventing the husband from observing evidence of purification that might provoke inappropriate questions. Preventing observation. The veil was not about virtue, it was about concealment.